Greetings. I'm excited to share with you an invitation to a special event that's coming up on Wednesday. How to ask for and receive what you need. And I would add how to do that with joy and with ease. I have just noticed over and over again over the past couple of months that this idea of asking for what I need and also others asking me for what they need, to me, I have some really clear, concrete ideas or understandings of how I enjoy it going. And there are many, many ways that I don't enjoy. And so I decided today to just poll some of my friends and say, hey guys, what would you say is your biggest challenge around asking for and receiving what you need? And the responses were really interesting. So I want to share them in a moment, but I want to just share why I'm doing this. So there's a couple of things. Once you know, like I do, and again, I say no, it's quote, I mean, do we ever really know anything? We don't. But there, to some level, there's resonance when I understand that a lot of my life's work, there's a few things that I'm here to do. One of them is to really feel the emotional needs of the people around me and verbalize that. Because a lot of times people feel things but don't know how to say what they're feeling, or don't even know that it needs to be expressed. And yet when they hear it expressed, they're like, oh, thank God you said that. I was feeling it, but I didn't know how to say it. So that's one of my roles. Another one of my roles is that I take complex ideas and I make them simple so people can make use of them in a practical way. And another one of the things that I'm here for is to shift the way people see and perceive both themselves and the world around them. So each of these gifts that I have has positives and drawbacks. And one of the drawbacks is that it's really hard for me to articulate what people tell me with their words. I'm always changing and altering and modifying what they say. Even my daughter, she'll say something or she'll imply something and I will reflect back to her what I heard her say. And she's like, I didn't say that at all. So I realize that that's just one of the things about me, the way my mind works, that I have a hard time repeating things. I tend to change them. They go through a Deborah filter. When they come back out there, they look and sound different. That can be a good thing, but that can also be annoying. And so what I decided today was, instead of me speaking through my filter, which I usually do, I would read some of the responses that I got back from my colleagues about what they experienced. So you could hear it and see whether any of that resonates for you. So I'm just literally going to switch tabs here. So these are some of the responses I got. Receiving isn't reliable. I can't depend on it. This is the story that comes up and I feel myself pull back and retreat. Another response, it comes down to my ego. I've grown up having to do things on my own, make my own money, build my own businesses, just get things done rather than wait for someone else who is less skilled or less competent than me to do it. I've had to learn how to overcome this by hiring teams and training them to my standard. Another response, worrying about others' feelings and projecting negative thoughts that I'm a burden or that they'll think I'm weak. Another response, I don't feel like I can share honestly. I feel ashamed and judged. Another response, fear of rejection, feeling like a burden. Another response, I learned to be too independent because I didn't feel like I could rely on anyone. I think that goes into asking for a lot of needs. Love, support, help, etc. Another response, it's often tied to self-worth, asking, I don't want to burden others, or receiving, do I really deserve this? Another response: I'm frustrated when I can't do it myself. I'm an independent. From another person, I find it irritating when they ask me in circumvent ways. I don't like passive aggressive. I'd rather they just ask me very directly and then I'll try to oblige. Another response: a sense of obligation that is personal and particular, that if I receive something I ask for, that means some sort of debt. Another response: those who don't have needs to be met don't have to think about meeting needs, LOL. So it's hard to ask for what you need if you're amongst those who don't need to have basic needs met. It's also hard when they don't proactively plan to compensate for intellectual labor. Volunteering in our time is a luxury, in my opinion. Another response: believing in myself. I've come to realize that whatever we hope for has to first be granted by us, by our own belief. Right now, I'm navigating that space between what my eyes can see and what my heart dares to believe. The tension between reality and my inner belief, my superpowers, if you like, is my biggest challenge. So I would just love to read your reactions and responses in the comments. Do any of these responses resonate for you? Does it sound like you, some of the things that were written? I know I definitely resonated with a lot of the responses, and I felt them. It didn't feel light and, fluffy and easygoing. It felt actually quite heavy. And I love it when we come across things that feel sort of heavy. Many of my clients tell me, because I used to work with people who, I guess I never stopped per se working, but I moved into leadership development. I used to do specifically people who were trying to heal their marriage after emotional abuse. And usually they were on the brink of divorce when they came to me. And one of the things that I heard quite often was, Deborah, you make everything feel light. Like, I came in here like stressed and it was like so heavy. I was depressed. I was angry. And like, I bring this thing and I'm like nervous that you're going to be, like it's going to be this big heavy thing that's going to weigh down the conversation. And you're like, it's Tuesday. And it's true. Like, I have the ability to transmute that energy. It doesn't mean that I don't hold or don't have the ability to hold or acknowledge or be with heaviness. But I often find that people don't necessarily want to be with heaviness for very long. And there is an argument for being with heaviness for very long. There is an argument for that. I get it. I understand it. But I have found that for me, it has not been as effective. I'm all about results. My background is engineering. It hasn't been as effective for me as being able to transmute that heaviness into lightness. Now, does it mean that we always transmute? No. Does it mean that we instantaneously transmute? No. There is incredible value in being with heaviness for some time. However, I don't work with being with it for a long time or making it heavier, which I see a lot of people do. I see that very often. It's actually a sales technique, to make something even feel like the enormity of it even heavier than you were when you started, so that you really see the need for change, blah, blah, blah. That's just not the way that I'm wired. The way that I really see the best results in my system and what I teach and live by is to be with it in the sense of acknowledging it, but then genuinely allow it to be what it wants to be, because even the feeling, there's really not a desire in the system most of the time to stay in a heavy space. Sometimes there is. I've had times when I've just had a part of me that just wanted to be mad. I was like, I just want to be mad. I want to rage. I'm like, okay, because anger is not something, it's not an emotion that I'm in very often. So when it comes, I'm like, and it wants to do its thing, I'm like, okay, because I know that it's not going to stay in my body long. It may be like a day or two. There have been a few times I've been angry more than a day or two, but it's like I can count them on one hand, in my life. So there are times and there is a place for everything. So I'm not saying this is what will work for your system. I'm just simply saying that for my system, transmuting heavy into light is something that comes naturally. And it doesn't come because I like, okay, let's get rid of the heaviness. It comes from me just being genuinely curious about that feeling. So, some of the things that I read were around shame, and those responses that I just shared was around shame, was around guilt, two of my specialties. I am very specialized at manufacturing and transmuting shame and guilt. Some of the comments were around fear of rejection or feeling like, yeah, there was a lot of fear of rejection there. Also like withdrawing, not wanting to ask out of fear of being seen as weak, all these things, right? So these feelings are not fun to deal with. So what do we tend to do in society? We tend to just ignore them. Now, I never recommend that because that's basically what we call bypassing. Suppressing and ignoring those feelings is never a recommendation that I have. I mean, we've all done it. Let's be honest. We've all done it, and we're probably still doing it in several areas in our lives. But as we become aware, oh, I think I'm bypassing that feeling. Like, I think I'm just trying to hope that my shame or my guilt or my fear of rejection is just going to disappear on its own. I recommend instead to just get curious with that shame and that fear. And so that's what I want to do. I want to do it as a group with other people because it's more powerful that way. It really is. And I really wanted to invite you to come and join me. I'm going to share some of my experience. So I kind of listed out some of the things that I'm good at. Communication is one of them because it's really it's one of the core skills of relating with others, with other human beings. Both the verbal, the nonverbal, and the energetic communication are all really important, right? And so let's dive into it a little bit. I'm going to spend the first half of the time or third of the time sharing my perspective. So just about 30 minutes sharing the things that have worked for, previous clients of mine, things that I found that have worked well in my own life, things that I disagree with in the mainstream way of approaching relationship. And then I'm going to open up the discussion for all of us to share, what is currently alive, what is currently challenging you in your relationships when it comes to asking for and receiving what you need, or when it comes to others asking you for and receiving what they need. That is also part of the dynamic. It always goes both ways, right? So you can share that and get direct feedback from others and also from me. And then also, listening to others is really good too, because sometimes you don't even think about a question and someone else asks it. You're like, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that person asked that question, because now that they've asked, I want to be a part of that. I want to make use of that information. That was so appropriate for my life situation, and I didn't even think about it. So that is why it's more powerful to do things in a group. So I'm inviting you. It is accessible to everyone. I have made it pay what delights you, so you don't have to think about it. It's not, shouldn't be a thought. But bring your energy, bring your questions, bring your concerns, bring your curiosity, bring all of those to the discussion so that we can have this rich, lively discussion with each other, that we all walk away with new nuggets, new insights, myself included. I'm excited to hear and learn as we co-create these things together. Think about it like a potluck. Everyone's bringing a side dish or a drink or a dessert or napkins or whatever. We're all bringing different things, but we're bringing them together so that we can enjoy this meal together. And I think this is really important to consider, because we're living in times where one of the things we need to relearn how to do, because colonialism, that's one of the things that was destroyed was community. We need to learn how to do community. We think we know, and we kind of have a sense of what it looks like, but the logistics can often be a little bit fuzzy. So let me be a support for you. Let me create this space. Let me hold this container for you to be able to experience community in a psychologically safe way, and really explore how you can improve your skills of asking for and getting your needs met, or maybe how you can help someone else improve their skills as well in a loving and non-needy way. How can we help others as well around us to improve that skill, because it's an important one. We all have needs, and none of us can meet all of our needs by ourselves. We do need each other. And unfortunately, the individualism that we've had the wave of, one of its side effects was we kind of lost touch with that a bit, but now we're connecting back into it. That was another one of the responses, was the individualism, like, I got to do it myself, I got to be independent. And that there's beauty and merit in every single one of those things that was mentioned. And there's also a place where, everything is not a nail, so you need more than a hammer. You need a few other tools. Okay. So anyway, I would love to read your responses in the comments, either to the responses that I just shared and read aloud, or to any of the things that I mentioned today about needing community, about doing things together in a group, about what your own personal challenges are. What's your response to the question? If you can't make it in person live, can you respond in the comments and let me know what your thoughts are? All right. I wish you a wonderful day, and see you soon. Much love. Bye.